Welcome back. It's Josiah Novak from thetruetransformation.com, and today we are talking about the best workout split for maximum muscle and fat loss. Yes, you heard that correctly. I'm going to talk to you today about how to set up an ideal workout split to address both ends of the spectrum, muscle and fat loss. What's the best workout split for those two goals? Today we're going to talk about it. Let's jump into the video. All right, guys, so today we're going to break down best workout split for maximum muscle and fat loss 101. These are kind of the basic building blocks when thinking about how to set up your own personal workout split depending on your lifestyle, your goals, the things you have on your schedule every week, whether or not you have kids, a demanding career, whether or not you travel. I'm going to give you some ideas to think about so that you can maximize the time that you spend working out, whether it's in the gym or at home. The best workout split for you is going to depend on a variety of factors, and today we're going to cover those factors in detail so that you can be at peace, sleep well at night, knowing that your workout split is set up optimally for fat loss and muscle. So let's jump into the first thing to think about whenever setting up a workout split. All right, guys, so just like we talked about in a video before, I'll actually link it right here, which is Fat Loss 101. The most important thing to think about with diet or workouts is adherence. That word's going to keep coming up time and time again, but this is crucial, and this is probably one of the biggest mistakes I see people make with anything in life is they read something or their friend did something in regards to losing weight or building muscle, and they think, oh, that sounds really good. I can definitely do that. But in all honesty, when you start to break it down and you look at the time required, what's involved, where they're starting from, their experience, they're just not gonna be able to stick to it. It's like me thinking, okay, I drove a car before, I could go out and drive in a NASCAR race. Probably not going to happen despite the fact that I have driven a car for many, many years. I'm just not ready for that. My setup, my experience, what I have going on, the demand I have in my life, I'm not going to be able to handle that. So if you can't stick to something, it doesn't matter if the plan is perfectly written, it doesn't matter if it's scientifically optimized, it's not going to work if you can't adhere to the plan itself. So whenever looking at a workout program or thinking about how to set up your workout time and split, you have to make sure that you can commit to it and that you can do it week after week. So adherence is the word we're going to talk about a lot. Keep that in mind. That is tip number one. Tip number two is know where you're starting from. This is a big one too. People want to jump into an advanced bodybuilding style workout split where they're doing 5, 6, 7 days a week in the gym, but they haven't been training for 5, 6, 7 years. They're jumping into something without any kind of build-up or any kind of baseline, any foundation whatsoever. Maybe they used to play sports back in the day. Maybe you used to work out pretty religiously years ago, but it's been a while since you've been consistent. Know where you're starting from. One of the worst things that could happen is jumping into a workout split, getting so run down, so sore, even potentially injured, and then being out of the game again and having to restart all over. So that's something we want to avoid. So what are some of the things to consider when looking at where you're starting from? Well, number one is your experience. How often have you been working out? How comfortable are you with certain exercises? Do you have any nagging injuries? Do you have any imbalances? Anything that's bugging you right now that you need to correct before going full bore into a workout plan? What are your goals, right? Are you jumping into a workout plan because you want to lose fat, build muscle, a little bit of both? Make sure you know where you're starting from. This is crucial. And be honest with yourself. I see so many people who come to me and say, hey, I want to work with you. I want to get coaching. I want you to teach me what to do, how to get from where I am now to where I want to be. And they say, I've been working out, on and off for the past few years. I'm an advanced trainee. I know what I'm doing. But when we start to break it down, in reality, they're more in the beginner phase. So let me give you a rundown real quick of how to know where you're starting out. So I would classify anyone who has been following a workout program for under a year consistently, probably still to be in the beginner phase. 1 to 2 years of consistent training, learning the basics, mastering the basics, getting stronger. That's really what I consider to be the beginner phase. Now, the key thing to remember here is if you've never strung together multiple years of consistent workouts, getting stronger, perfecting your form, technically, you're still in the beginner phase. It's kind of sucks to hear that because you're like, well, I've been at this game, I've been in and out of the gym, whatever. At the end of the day, understand that you're in beginner phase is totally fine. That's going to help you because then you can dive into a workout plan that's built for you. You'll see massive progression and you'll avoid a lot of the setbacks we just talked about. Intermediate is kind of like that 2 to 4 year window where you might be able to get away with a little less than 4 years, but that's where you've seen some noticeable strength gains. Strength gains have started to slow down a little bit. You started to adapt to a lot of the training. You've had to progress a few times in your training, but you still don't know all the highly advanced movements like Olympic lifts, things like CrossFit style workouts, which definitely come with time and experience. That's that intermediate phase where if I tell you to do a bench, a squat, a deadlift, the general basics around that, and you can perform those pretty well. Advanced phase is the next phase past that. This is where you can handle a variety of movements. You can incorporate different tools like kettlebells, Olympic lifts, doing things that are more conditioning based because your body is more athletic. You can handle it. That's more an advanced approach. A lot of people go from 0 to advanced and wonder why their bodies don't respond, or they get hurt, or they feel run down, or they're constantly battling these nagging aches and pains. It's because you haven't classified yourself properly. So, as we said, tip number 2, know where you're starting from. It's crucial to know where you're beginning from because then that will allow you to chart a course that makes the most sense. Next thing we're going to talk about is actually how to set up your workout split. How many days should you be in the gym? How many workout sessions should you have every week? How should you break it out? Cardio versus lifting, all that kind of stuff. So let's first talk about the training days themselves. How many days per week should you work out? So this kind of comes back to the adherence talk. It's important to be real with your schedule. Here's what I tell people. Pick out at least 2 hours a week that you can put on the list every single week, cross it out on your calendar, block it off. Those are the times you'll be able to train without any questions asked. Whether you're training at home, in the gym, on the road, in the hotel, whatever. You have 2 hours every week that are your time. That's kind of the bare minimum in my eyes. I've yet to meet anyone from a multi-millionaire, billionaire people to people who work 9 to 5 who can't find 2 hours a week. Even if that means waking up a little bit earlier and getting it in, doesn't matter. 2 hours a week is kind of the bare minimum. So you could break that up if you had to. You could do, a couple half-hour sessions and then a couple longer sessions if you had to. But 2 hours a week is really what I recommend to start. Now, after that, we can start to add in time based off your personal schedule, right? So if you're like, hey, I can definitely commit to 3 hours a week, great. Maybe you can commit to 3 45-minute sessions. Awesome. These have to be non-negotiable though. So when you start building out your routine, don't build it off of a perfect week where, everything fell into place and the kids got to school on time, my boss wasn't being an asshole, like all this great stuff happened that doesn't normally happen, and then you can work out 4 times a week. Don't build a schedule based off of that. Build a schedule based off the worst possible week, right? This is where work's going nuts, you're traveling, kids are demanding all your time, wife wants to go on a couple date nights. Like, these are great things. Obviously, these are life priorities. So that means if you only have 3 hours a week around those things, great. Build a workout routine around those 3 days. And I'm going to tell you how to factor in bonus workouts if everything falls into place and you have extra time. So that's step number 1. Take a look at the non-negotiable time, no questions asked time that you have every week, guaranteed, even on your worst weeks, and build your routine off of that. Now, we're going to talk about 3 key terms that we want to factor in when it comes to your workouts. Volume, intensity, and frequency. Okay, now, I don't want to get too scientific with this video because this is Workout Splits 101, the best workout splits for maximum muscle and fat loss. So we're going to keep things basic but also very simple for you to understand. But volume basically refers to the total amount of sets and reps that you do per body part. Okay, so let me just give you a quick example. Let's say you're training your chest, 3 sets of 10 reps. That's all you do every week. Okay, so your total volume then would be 10 reps times 3. Okay, 30 reps. Then you take that and you times it by the weight that you did for those reps. So let's just say you did 10 pounds. You're just starting out and you're doing 10 pounds on the bench press every single rep. So each set, which is 10 reps, would be 100 pounds times 3. So you did 300 pounds of total volume. Okay, 300 pounds is our volume for the week. All right. Now, let's talk about intensity. All right. Let's talk about what we normally think about when it comes to how hard we work out. But what does intensity really mean? Well, intensity means how often you're taking sets to maximum failure. All right. So one thing people abuse in the fitness industry is training extremely hard, right? They go, oh, I want to go full bore. I want to go all out. I want to push my body to its absolute limit every single set. That's one thing I'm going to encourage you to avoid, especially as we go forward, right? Because the body's just not going to be able to recover at that point. We have to have a certain amount of intensity to see growth, but then beyond that, we're really tapping into a recovery level that's just not going to be possible for your body, all right? So volume, intensity, and then frequency. Frequency is how often we hit our body parts. Okay, so most body part splits, you're only hitting the body part once a week, maybe chest on Mondays, back on Tuesdays, legs on Wednesdays, that kind of thing. There are other splits that I'll mention here in a minute that allow you to increase the amount of frequency that you train those body parts. So just to recap, volume is sets, reps, and weight all combined into a nice mathematical formula to give you your total volume. Intensity is how hard we're pushing each workout, how hard we're pushing the set to failure or not, how maximum weight we're using, right? And then total frequency is how often we're training those muscle groups. Those are three key things when we build out a workout split that we want to keep in mind. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't think anybody has the perfect workout split factored in and basically built out. We have to test things out with your body, okay? So we might build a workout split that makes sense on paper. Maybe it's 3 days a week, maybe it's an upper, lower, full body split, right? Where you train everything twice a week. Volume's good. It's a good starting point for your experience level. We're only taking a couple sets to failure every workout. You're feeling pretty good, but then all of a sudden after 1 week, you're feeling run down. You're feeling beat up and the intensity's too high. Maybe the total volume's too high. These are just three key terms to keep in the back of your head as you're going forward, right? Because I don't want you to get to a place where you're feeling like this is way too easy or this is way too hard and I don't know what to do, okay? Because ultimately, whether or not it's too easy or too hard, those are the three factors that we're going to want to adjust every single time, okay? Assuming your recovery is on point, which we'll talk about at the end. That is tip number 3, how to pick a workout split. Now we'll go to tip number 4, some of my favorite workout splits. Tip number 4, and this is my top favorite workout splits, all right? And this is I'll go from a kind of minimalist approach to a more advanced approach, depending on your experience level. So for beginners, I have 2 that pop to the top of my mind as soon as someone comes to me and says, hey, I'm just starting out, what do I do? The first one is the twice a week training split. And I have a program, by the way, it's called Train Twice. You can go to traintwice.com. You can check it out if you're interested. This is a minimalist approach. This is like, what's the bare minimum just to get going, just to get the ball rolling, build momentum, start building muscle, losing fat. 2 times a week, hitting weights, both full body sessions. All right, we're training everything twice a week. The volume is moderate. Intensity is also very moderate. We don't want to push so hard that you're constantly in recovery mode. We want your body to adapt so that over time you can either add in more volume or you can add in maybe another day of training, which gets me to the next training split that I talk about. I actually teach you how to do this one also in Train Twice. If you go to traintwice.com, you can check it out. This is the 3-day-a-week split. All right, this is where we're hitting either full body each day. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're doing a full body workout where we're hitting every body part. Or we're doing something like an upper body day where it's all upper body, a lower body day with everything lower half, and then a full body workout to kind of round out the week. So this is actually one of my favorite ones, even for intermediate people, because you can do a lot with that. You can have, if for example your back is a weak point and you want to emphasize back training, the upper body day you could have a large amount of back work and you could also touch it up again on the full body day. So I like this for beginners, especially as they transition to intermediate. Now, let's jump into an intermediate workout split that I really enjoy. This is, once again, great for building muscle, great for losing fat, and we'll talk about why kind of on the end of this video. But upper body, lower body, 4 times a week. This is a great one, okay? So this is where you have an upper body day followed by a lower body day, a rest day in between, then an upper body, lower body day again, followed by 2 days of rest. So 4 days a week of training, 3 days a week of active rest. What I love about this is you can kind of accomplish 2 goals at once. You could have something like 2 strength days where you're focusing on lower reps, higher weight, pushing the intensity, right? Because you're training closer to that maximum intensity level. A little bit lower volume. Then on the next 2 days, you could have more of a muscle size pump style training where we push the reps a little bit higher and we're increasing the volume. The intensity is not as high because we're not going maximum weight. We're just pushing the blood into the muscle. I love this because high weight, high intensity can really crush your recovery. Like you'll feel run down if you do too much of it. But if we build in some hypertrophy training, which is just a fancy word for building muscle size, which is higher reps, a little less intensity, higher volume, but still, once again, not as taxing recovery-wise. You have 2 of those days, it's a really good balance training-wise. It's a 4-day-a-week workout split. Once again, more of an intermediate approach. You could also even classify it as advanced if you build in more advanced movements like Olympic lifts, stuff like that. But it's a great split if you're someone who can handle 4 days a week. The next split is definitely an intermediate to advanced, and this is a push-pull legs routine. Okay, this is where both volume and intensity really starts to ramp up. It's not as much frequency, and the reason why is that there's a lot of studies showing that as you transition into more advanced training, there's arguments around this, right? As terms of frequency of training body parts. Some people say you don't need to train things that frequently, once a week is enough. Some people say twice a week. Push-pull legs is one that I like because you can build in some recovery and touch-up work for things like your chest, even on a day where you're doing only pull movements for back, okay? It's a good way to kind of split things up, keep things interesting. I have a lot of coaching clients that I put on this at times to give them a little bit of a break from the upper body, lower body split, kind of mix things up, allow them to focus on more specific body parts each day. So just as a recap, push-pull legs is on push day, you're doing chest, shoulders, and triceps. Pull day is back, rear delt, traps, and biceps. And then leg day, hamstrings, glutes, quads, calves. And you can build in your core training as you see fit. Those are my top workout splits. Of course, there's the traditional body part split, chest on Mondays, back on Tuesdays. That one I despise, to be honest, because it requires you to be in the gym 5-6 days a week. It's also a whole week before you touch up anything else again. And it's just not ideal for most people's lives. The ones I mentioned typically can fit well into most people's schedules, both work and personal. No more than 3-4 days a week in the gym. Then it gives you 3 days to basically have flexibility and do what you need to do. Those are my top workout splits. Let's move on to the next tip. So what to do on your off days, right? Nobody ever talks about what to do on off days. I don't believe in sedentary rest, okay? I don't think that anybody should sit around all day doing absolutely nothing unless, of course, you're injured and the injury requires you to do that. But even then, I would try to get some basic activity in. Most people that I coach, I tell them, look, on your off days, schedule some outdoor walking if possible. If you can't, it's all good. Do some movement or walking indoors if it's too cold to go outside. Things like walking on a treadmill, mobility work, ab and core work if you'd like. You can even grab some exercise bands and do some light work for some weaker body parts that you're trying to bring up. If you're trying to build your arms, your shoulders, your back, your chest, whatever, do some low intensity work on your off days if you have the time. Bare minimum, I would say go for a 30-minute walk. This is going to do a number of things. Walking is tremendous for longevity, recovery, overall brain function, also burns a lot of calories if you're trying to lose fat. It's a great off-day activity, and you can incorporate the family. You can take your kids for a walk. It's actually one of the best proven ways to bond with your children is go for a walk every day. Also with your wife, you can go, or spouse. You can go for a walk, you can go on a hike. It's a great complementary form of exercise to weight training or resistance training in general. Because one thing I forgot to mention in talking about weight training or workout splits is that despite the fact that when you think of workout splits, you think of dumbbells and barbells and all this other stuff, you can train with anything, even if it's just your body weight. Exercise bands. We have videos, if you go back through our library, and I'll tag one here, of workouts that you can do that require no equipment that you can still set up the exact same way. Full body, upper body, lower body, push-pull legs. You can just train exercises that focus on those body parts with the equipment that you have or don't have. So off days should not be neglected. Don't think about it as like, oh, I'm just going to sit around and do nothing, allow my body to recover. Recovery is going to be sped up by staying active. So make sure you do on your off days. Let's wrap this video up with just a couple quick things to remember. The one thing you're going to want to keep in mind is progression, right? A lot of people get stuck in doing the same old time and time again. And there's nothing wrong with being consistent for a good chunk of time. People always ask, well, how often should I change my workouts up? There's different scenarios that require different protocols in terms of the goals, the person who's training, the ability to stick to something. There's a lot of different individual factors. But what I'll say is that normally when I'm coaching clients or in the programs we build, every 3 to 4 weeks is a good time frame to switch things up. The reason why is you want to give yourself enough time, you want to give the body enough time to actually adapt to the program. If you're constantly throwing new things at it, the body's constantly trying to adapt, and it never sees the maximum progress that you would get by being more consistent over a little bit longer period of time. If, for example, let's say you're just that person who needs novelty every single time, what I would suggest is with the smaller muscle groups like shoulders or arms or calves or abs, Maybe change exercises out as you see fit to keep the enjoyment going, right? Or maybe add in a little bit of fun cardio work, something that's not going to hurt your actual weight training progress. That's a good way to build in some novelty to enjoy your workouts without disrupting the consistency that needs to be in place from the main big movements like bench press, pull-ups, push-ups, rows, things that are going to build the maximum muscle, squats, deadlifts. Keep those consistent before changing them up. 3 to 4 weeks, give it some time. You'll start to see faster progress. All right, guys, that wraps up how to pick the best workout split for maximum muscle and fat loss. If you're interested in learning more about how I can help you reach your goals, you can head on over to thetruetransformation.com. I mentioned a program that we have called Train Twice. Check that one out, traintwice.com. And as always, I appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know if you have any questions, anything you'd like to see on a future video. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up button to let us know that you liked the video, and the little bell to get notified every time we release a new one. That's it for me, Josiah Novak, thetruetransformation.com. Talk to you soon. Peace.